The crypto market just entered a new era, one where Wall Street decides which altcoins rise and which ones disappear. And right now, all eyes are locked on two giants, XRP and Solana. One is preparing for a potential spot ETF that could unleash a flood of institutional money, while the other already has its first ETF on the market, opening the door for billions in new demand. But here's the real question nobody's answering. Which one is actually positioned to dominate the next cycle? Because the truth is, the ETF race isn't just about approval, it's about narrative, liquidity, and which asset the big players believe will survive the next 5 years. Some analysts say XRP is massively undervalued and on the edge of a historic breakout. Others argue Solana's ecosystem gives it a long-term advantage Wall Street won't be able to ignore. Today, we're going deep into the data, the catalysts, the risks, and the predictions shaping both of these tokens. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where the momentum is building and which ETF could rewrite the future of all coins. If you want to stay ahead of every ETF launch, every price move, and every institutional shift, make sure to subscribe to Crypto News, because this story is just beginning. Current landscape: two titans, two ETF stories. On one side, you have Solana, the high-throughput blockchain with a massive app ecosystem. The first Solana ETF has already launched in the US, letting investors gain exposure to SOL via traditional brokerages. On the other side sits XRP, a token tied to cross-border payments and with a hopeful path to spot ETF approval. The momentum for a US spot XRP ETF is accelerating. So right now, Solana is first to market in one sense, while XRP is potential next big institutional move. But the story isn't simply who's first. It's about whose narrative sticks, whose flows arrive, and whose token reacts.
Why XRP might have the edge early. First, regulatory momentum. XRP's spot ETF approvals are increasingly expected by year-end, which would open a floodgate of institutional capital. Second, the institutionally friendly angle. An ETF tied to XRP lets funds, advisors, and end clients access a token previously seen as too controversial or risky. Third, the catch-up opportunity. Many retail altcoin investors may view XRP as undervalued relative to its potential once the ETF flows hit. One analyst sees XRP rising to around $12.50 in coming years, implying significant upside from today. So if you're thinking short to mid-term, next 6 to 18 months, XRP could be the surprise leader. But that doesn't mean Solana is out of the race. Why Solana could outpace in the long run? Solana already has an ETF, or ETF-like product, live. That means access is open, flows can already start, and the narrative of blockchain platform for Web3 apps is strong. Also, the staking and yield component for SOL gives it a utility play. Investors not only seek price appreciation, they can earn yield via staking. That positions Solana as more than a speculative token. Consider this. JP Morgan and analysts estimate that altcoin ETFs in the first 6 months could attract up to $14 billion, with around $6 billion potentially flowing into Solana-linked products. If Solana executes on its ecosystem, apps, DeFi, NFTs, staking, and institutional flows keep growing, it could easily lead the altcoin ETF pack over the next 2 to 3 years. Key metrics and catalysts to watch. Here's what you'll want to monitor for both to gauge who's gaining ground. ETF inflows, big day one numbers, institutional creations, number of new funds. Token price reaction. Does the token reflect ETF flows or remain disconnected? Solana recently broke below support despite ETF momentum. Ecosystem growth. For Solana, apps, network usage, staking participation. For XRP, partnerships, bank and institution adoption, regulatory clarity. XRP is in a critical moment here. Technical levels, token support, resistance, moving averages, major volume spikes. Macro and altcoin sentiment. Even the strongest two can be dragged down if the broader crypto market goes into risk-off mode. Risks and headwinds. XRP risks. Even if ETF flows come, token price gains may lag due to disconnects between fund flows and spot market demand. Regulatory risk remains. If the approval delays, that could undercut the narrative. Market watchers know that even when big events happen, like an ETF launch, sometimes the token dips. Early signs are showing that for XRP. Solana risks. Execution risk. A high-performance chain, but many projects compete. If one fails or network issues arise, sentiment can flip. The token may already price in much of the ETF upside, leaving less margin for surprise. With heavy competition in the platform space, narrative fatigue could reduce incremental returns. Future predictions, both short and longer term. Best case scenarios. XRP, if spot ETF approval hits, institutional inflows accelerate, and Ripple partnerships expand, XRP could reach $10 to $15 plus by late 2026-2027. Standard Chartered sees around $12.50 in coming years. Solana, with ecosystem growth, staking yield, and ETF flows, could push into $300 to $500 plus by late 2026-2027, assuming bullish conditions. Moderate scenario, XRP around $5 to $8 by end of 2025-26 if gains are steady but not explosive. Solana, $200 to $300 in the same time frame if execution continues but broader macro slows. Conservative or downside scenario, XRP, if regulatory delays or token price disconnect persist, it might hover around $2 to $4 for a while despite ETF flow. Solana, if network issues or altcoin downturns hit, Sol may revisit $150 to $150 territory. Note, technical weakness showed Solana falling to around $145. The key takeaway, time horizon matters. XRP could surge early with ETF catalysts. Solana might dominate later with ecosystem depth. So, which will win the race in the near term? XRP appears positioned to surprise, especially if ETF approval and institutional flows align. But in the longer run, Solana could claim leadership if its ecosystem momentum, staking yield, and ETF flows continue. If you're a viewer choosing a side, decide whether you're in for a 6 to 18-month play, XRP, or 2 to 3-year platform bet, Solana. Whichever you lean toward, and you don't have to pick only one, monitoring ETFs, token flows, ecosystem updates, and regulatory shifts will keep you ahead. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe to Crypto News, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next major move.